is filled with screams.
This is Joel Markowitz from DCTheaterscene.com. I'm here with Matt Macis and Talia Segal, who are appearing in Landless Theatre Company's production of Batboy the Musical. All right, here I am with Batboy. And who are you?
Matt Macis here. I play Batboy.
And?
Edgar.
And I'm Talia Segal, and I play Shelley Parker.
Okay, tell us about these characters, Matt.
Well, Batboy is a really interesting character because, I think that from the recordings of the show that Devin May does, I mean, you get two different aspects of the part when he does it in London, when he does it in New York. They're completely two different characters almost. And I think that if you watch clips on YouTube or you see a video of the show, people do copy Devin. I think a lot of the times they think he is the definitive Batboy, so they try to copy. And what I've done was pretty much avoid looking at everything that he's done and create a Batboy that is, funny, but also uniquely real. And I think that may be what makes our show overall, a different show than normal Batboys.
So is your Batboy battier or what?
He is quite batty. I mean, he really does show the audience a good time, but he also gets really emotional, at different points of the show. I don't think that my Batboy ever really truly becomes a human being throughout the course of the show.
Interesting. And you, talk about Shelley.
Shelley is a typical teenage girl. She is a brat. But she evolves over the course of the show. She starts out being kind of interested in Batboy as sort of a bizarre pet, and grows to dislike him because he makes a lot of noise and is just generally kind of gross. But over the course of the show, she grows to understand him and to see past his weird exterior. And part of that is because her family spends a lot of time sort of teaching him how to behave in normal society. So she sees the essence behind the weirdness.
Yeah.
And you go past those ears, right?
Oh, she gets past the ears, yeah.
Okay, that's very important. Okay, can you sing that great little song a little bit from Inside Your Heart?
Sure.
We start from I will shield, body and bone.
Yeah, let's do that.
1, 2, 3, 4. I will shield you from harm. Come spend your life on my arm. I see no better way to start. Let me prove I love you. Let me become part of you. Now we shall never be apart. I'll always live inside your heart.
That was great.
All right.
Wow. Okay, well, let's continue on here. Batboy has many physically demanding scenes, correct?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You should see my kneecaps.
Why don't you wear, like, kneecap protectors?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know
like
if
shin guards?
I don't know if knee pads go with loincloths very well.
Probably about as much as tap shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, describe some of the physical demands of your role and how you have prepared yourself to perform them.
I think that throughout the course of the show, if you look at an animal, which Edgar truly is an animal, they have this stare that if you come see the show, you'll see it. This stare that you just cannot focus on anything, and it gives you a headache for one. But you see these things in a stirred, blurry vision, and it's hard to focus. And I think that may be what part of Edgar's problem is. He can't focus on one thing, and just the physical demeanor that you have to take over as Batboy is completely unhuman-like, and it's hard. And being in a cage is definitely a challenging role in itself.
Okay, what about you, Shelley?
In terms of the physical demands,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Shelley doesn't really have physical demands. I'd say the only physical demand on Shelley in the show is probably towards the end. In the scene where Shelley and Batboy have to disrobe.
That is a physical demand.
That is a physical demand, yeah.
Can you bear us some of the details?
Sure. It's totally PG. Well, PG-13 probably, at the very worst.
I'm still in I get back into my loincloth, but I have the tank top in addition, so I have some. I'm actually more clothed than I usually am throughout the rest of the show during that scene.
Probably, yeah. And I'm basically fully clothed. I mean, I'm wearing the slip from under my dress, but even that, it took a little bit of planning to figure out exactly how we were going to interpret that scene, and then to figure out how to make it look the way we wanted it to look. And other than that, Shelley just sort of
hangs around.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's your favorite song in the show?
I would have to say, going back to some of my the stuff I've done when I was younger, the Tulsa and Gypsy the numbers, Show You a Thing or Two, very, very Broadway, very classic Broadway in the sense.
That's my favorite song on the show too. So can you sing a little?
I'll show you a thing or two. I was dirty and rowdy, even dressed a bit dowdy. But now say
howdy
to a summa cum laude. I'll show 'em the way it's done, but no applause, I'm not through. I'm gonna Vince Van Gogh 'em,
and Henry Thoreau 'em,
and Plato,
and Cato,
and Edgar Allan Poe 'em,
gonna Jacques Cocteau 'em,
and Jacques Cousteau 'em,
Fellini,
Houdini,
and Michelangelo,
I'm gonna Jackie O 'em,
Marilyn Monroe 'em,
Botticelli,
Machiavelli,
Larry Curly, and Moe 'em, and what do you know, once you
learn to crawl
you
on,
suddenly grow to be
10 feet tall.
So buddy, I'm going to show them all a thing or two.
You'll show 'em a thing or two.
Or two.
You'll show 'em a thing or two.
Or two.
You'll show 'em a thing or two.
Show 'em a thing or two.
Wow, you just showed me a thing or two. That was very good. Okay, well, let's talk about that space at DCAC. I know it's not an easy space to perform in. We'll talk about some of the good things about that space, all one or two of them, and then talk about some of the challenges. How's that work?
Yeah, that's
the
great.
Challenges of performing there. Go ahead.
The thing that I like best about DCAC, actually, is that it's a very intimate space. As performers, when you're in a really big space, oftentimes, in order for what you're doing to read to the audience, we have to be really big and presentational and, shout our lines at each other. And what I like about performing at DCAC is that we can be much more intimate with each other, and we can converse with each other versus having to sort of scream at each other throughout the show.
I really like the fact that your audience is almost directly in the story at DCAC. You see their reactions, you see if something's working for them, you see if something's not working for them. And so that's sort of a double-edged sword. But you really get the sense of people feeling your pain, your happiness, and at all the other emotions that you go through the show as the audience watches you progress or digress, actually, at some points. It's a very unique space for the audience as well as the performers to experience a theatrical event in.
Okay, well, tell us about some of the other shows you have appeared in, because you've done a lot of work in Baltimore.
I'm from Baltimore. Probably the biggest thing I've done in Baltimore would be the Awesome 80s Prom, which ran for 6 months at the Hippodrome back in 2005. I was still in high school at the time, so I was doing a show about a decade that I barely lived to see.
I'm a DC native, so I've done quite a bit of theater in the DC area. I did a production with Gala Hispanic Theater in the past few years, readings at the Kennedy Center, and stuff with VSA Arts, previous productions with Landless Theatre Company, of course, stuff with Adventure Theater.
Okay, so you've been busy.
Yeah, pretty busy.
Okay, let's talk about that makeup.
Well,
because, that eerie makeup.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was interesting because we toyed with a lot of different things to make this Batboy look a certain way. Originally I had this David Cassidy shag, and I was very tentative to part with it. We didn't talk about, whether Batboy would have long hair, because traditionally you do see Devin, with the peach fuzz hair, and most Batboys do follow in that fashion, which I have followed in suit with them. But we toyed with that. We toyed with different facial makeup, liquid latex, to maybe give him a more monstrous appearance. But in the end, we settled with the ears, and I think that is enough to create the physical difference, and let the rest of it be from me as an actor physically impose that difference. as the Bat as Edgar is.
What about your makeup? Anything interesting?
Once again, Shelley
Poor Shelley gets nothing in this
well,
show.
Shelley gets off the hook in a lot of cases. Shelley just
Poor
gets to
Shelley.
wear, teenage girl type of makeup. So I'm not sure I can really speak on challenges with makeup.
Well, let's try you with choreography. Any challenge there?
Oh yes, plenty
Yay.
of challenges with choreography. The opening number, I suppose, is probably our most involved number, choreographically speaking, if that's even a word. We have a lot of original dance moves that were created for the show by our fabulous choreographer Elizabeth Fetty, that took us some time to sort of get the hang of. But when we first started doing it, I was like, I can't even visualize what these moves are going to look like to an audience. And I have to say that now that we've put it all together, it really does make sense, and I think it looks pretty cool. So,
what about you?
Well, Batboy doesn't have much choreography, which when I do get to do some choreography, it's a little a bit of hip hop and a little bit of that. For the Joyful Noise reprise in the church, I get to do some James Brown shuffle with Reverend Hightower,
yes.
And that's, paying tribute to the Godfather of Soul a little bit there. And, but the choreography is very cool. It's like a show, sort of like Aida, where there's a whole fusion of styles. Classic Broadway show, You're a Thing of Two. Hold Me Batboy, the opening is definitely very hip-hop oriented.
rock,
So, yeah, you see a lot of different styles fused into one musical piece, which is a really cool thing.
It's hard to believe that this is the same Lawrence O'Keefe who wrote that kind of bland, Legally Blonde score.
Oh, no, we can't be talking about Legally Blonde.
I haven't seen Legally Blonde, so I
Okay,
can't
all
really
right. I had to
speak
put
on
my
that.
little 2 cents worth on it. You can do better, Lawrence, and you did with Batboy. It's one of the greatest scores of a musical.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, let's talk about you again. This guy is, believe this or not, okay, is a Michael Jackson impersonator. So how did that help you prepare for this role?
Michael Jackson as Batboy. As a performer, I've tried very hard to differentiate myself as an actor and an impersonator, because you don't want the two to sort of to mix together, because people don't really take impersonators seriously, but it is a true acting job. And to become Michael, to talk about makeup, it takes me about an hour and a half to do the full makeup, to get in the nose, the cheek lines. I grew up idolizing him as a kid, and I think that he helped me grow as a performer, because I took, Michael Jackson, James Brown, Fred Astaire, and took those 3 performers and sort of fused them all together as my influence to, bring that energy, the finesse. Those 3 performers are killer in any combination of this.
Okay, do a little Michael a la Batboy.
All right. But I'm not here to harm them. I only want to learn. They all walk in sunlight. I deserve a turn. I want to know my neighbors, and that's when God knows. Why can't I make this world my home?
Oh, my God. Beat it, kid.
Beat it. Just don't be ignorant. Don't be ignorant, Joel.
Oh, boy.
That's what Michael would say if he were here.
Let's move on here. So, why do you think Batboy the musical is so popular and is being produced everywhere?
I would have to say it's because overall it's an entertaining show, and it has characters in it that are silly and campy and fun to watch. The music is infectious, and the message actually is quite serious, and I think translates well to all different demographics of audiences.
The thing about Batboy is that there comes a certain time when people want to produce something that's edgy and and is sort of as a cult musical. Rocky Horror was that for such a long time in the theater community, and Batboy came along and is sort of the Rocky Horror for this generation, especially for my generation who wasn't alive to experience any of the Rocky Horror fascination. But Batboy really does give people that edgy theater that you don't get all the time. It's not 42nd Street, it's not Gypsy, it's its own beast, and it's an awesome beast to experience.
Well, I'm going to close this very interesting, biting podcast with asking both of you to personally invite our listeners to come see the show. Tell them what kind of experience they will have.
think if you come see the show, you'll get the whole gamut of a theater-going experience. You'll be entertained. You will cheer for the characters. You'll laugh at the characters. You'll be happy. You'll be sad for them. Just overall, you'll be really entertained. And it's a great production, so we hope to see you there.
Landless's Batboy truly embraces the campiness behind the show. And I think we really embrace that and run with it. But at the same time, there's a deep, that emotional, that complex plot that takes place throughout the show is still as evident. And it's one of the rare shows that you can be in an emotionally heavy scene and as an audience member laugh at a joke that happens right directly in the middle of that scene, but still not lose any of the intensity from that joke being placed in the middle of a scene. That's just the way it is, and Landless really has done a great job producing this show. I mean, I would say it's one of the best shows I've ever been a part of.